So let's show you guys what's going on with this and why this particularly is interesting in the case of Cover Corporation. It creates this kind of particularly interesting video. This is from this is called "New YouTube Policies Are Destroying Hololive Clip Channels," and this is from GN. GN has hardly any subs here, so go sub to this guy. He's got hardly any, and I like supporting small channels and people doing good content. So shout out to GN. This is a really good video. So appreciate them putting out this good content. All right, so let's get into this video. The new YouTube policies are destroying Hololive clip channels. I'm gonna pause it and comment on it as well.
With a really quick video. For a few days now, I've been keeping an eye on this situation with a Hololive clip channel called Garzen. Now
this is essentially the Garzen is also Gura on here on Twitter is Guranslation. I like that name, Guranslation, which is providing a important service, right? So if you go over here, of providing clips with Japanese subtitles, right? So for those that may want to watch a stream and want it with subtitles, and that's an important service, right? Very important service. To have those clips and have those translations so you're able to actually understand them. And there's a lot of clip channels that do this, not just for Hololive, by the way. They do this for many types of popular contents. I remember, I'll see clips of like Joe Rogan podcast, right? That'll be translated into Spanish or Japanese or Korean or whatever else, right? There'll be popular content that is translated. And frankly, whenever that popular content is translated, I think that is an important service. It is transformative, right? Because you're allowing access to an entire segment of people that you would not otherwise access the content, right? So I do think this is providing a huge amount of value. And I do think under at least a US rubric, this is transformative. So I think for a fair use standpoint, I think this would add a lot of value, right? This would have a lot of purpose.
And has been posting clips for the past 4 years. And a few days ago, all of his clips have been completely demonetized. Clippers are officially recognized and supported by Cover via their derivative work guidelines. Cover allows them to monetize clips as long as they follow the rules, meaning that the demonetization of Garzen's channel was done by YouTube themselves. You see, for a few months now, YouTube has been constantly changing and updating their allowed content policy, focusing on channels that use a lot
of... So this douchebag here is the one who works for YouTube, right? So we're going to watch it. There's a little bit of an interview here, but this D-bag works for YouTube. So this is the policy. So the policy is for reused content, right? And I know there's some clippers in the channel. I see Azahara here, right? And there's a lot of clipper bros in the channel, and I know a lot of clipper bros watch my content. Reuse content refers to channels that repurpose content that's already on YouTube or another online source without adding. And here's the key word. Here's the fucking key word: significant, right? So this word, significant, YouTube is interpreting what significant means. Okay, significant means. So this is something that really is a legal term, and it really is something that goes to like fair use and like a judge should decide, right? But YouTube is being like, nah, you know what, if this isn't 100% original, we're going to say it's not significant, right? Commentary, substantive modifications, or educational and entertainment value. Well, how do they know this isn't adding educational or entertainment value? I mean, if it's educational, right? Adding a different language is educational, and it's also a substantive modification, right? Reused content may also be known as duplicative or scraped content, taking original or unique content from other websites and publishing it as your own, right?
With external.
And by the way, these policies, I'll tell you why they're vague. Someone in the chat asked, why are these policies vague? These policies are vague because they want to arbitrarily enforce them. You know how I know that? I wrote policies when I was in corporate. We intentionally wrote them vaguely so we could enforce them however the fuck we wanted to enforce them. This is the reality. This is real talk here. And when I was at corporate, I did that too, right? So I'm saying it like as the perpetrator. Like when I did this, I was guilty. Now, I was mainly dealing with policies at that point. I was writing a lot of policies related to the Rona, a lot of policies related to use of hotels and restrictive covenants and other crazy shit, right? So I wasn't dealing with like reuse content. I wasn't working for a social media company, but I wrote policies, and the policies, I'd always write them vague because we wanted to decide whether or not we wanted to enforce them. Because a lot of times we would write them in a way, especially with the COVID policies, where we didn't want to enforce them, which I loved. I was like, hey, let's just not enforce that mask thing, huh? And they're like, yeah. But like, we need a policy though, because everyone else has a policy. I'm like, cool. But we're not going to enforce it though, right? They're like, no, we're not going to enforce it. We're just going to have it on the website. And I'm like, okay, cool. We got this, right? You can go either way with it. You can choose to use it or not use it, right? My side is usually, hey, let's not enforce the rule, right? But you do need it. You need it to be out there sometimes.
Footage and don't add much value to it. Hololive clip channels are now considered as reused, being lazy and automated.
We're getting a lot of questions from creators about reused content.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what that is?
Reused content is when there's a video that features footage maybe from a TV clip, or it's another creator's videos, and it's uploaded without a lot of modification to it. What we're really trying to prevent there is a scenario where someone is profiting off of content that was generated by somebody else without actually adding a lot of value.
And
this is what
that without adding a lot of value. Okay, now what does that mean, right? What does that mean? And I see people saying here, like, I see in the chat, oh, clippers are lazy. Okay, but it's still providing a service. Yes, it's not as hard to clip as it is to create original content, but it's still an important service, right? It's like saying, for example, oh, delivery drivers are an easy job, but it's an important job because restaurants will not sell as much food unless there's delivery drivers. Delivery drivers really actually help restaurants a lot because they get that food to people that wouldn't otherwise order that food. They would just not go out and not, maybe eat at home or order something that is like easily delivered, right? Versus somewhere that maybe, because of services like here in Asia, Grab or, Uber Eats or whatever else, are more accessible, right? So yes, not necessary, maybe not as original. Obviously the chef has more creativity than a delivery driver, but the clip is still important. It gets it out there in a digestible fashion, right? Other people say they're not lazy. They're a core part of the community. I think it can be both. It can be, look, it's not as difficult to clip. That's true, but it's still important, right? It's a key part of the chain. Let's continue.
Probably caused Garzan's channel to get flagged for demonetization. And to spread awareness of his issue, Garzan posted a video showing how he submitted an appeal to the YouTube monetization team.
And yes, I know, guys, by the way, I know not all clippers are created equal, right? So like there are different types of clippers, right? So some clippers, for example, like this one, are adding translations. That's way fucking harder, right? Or way more difficult than just taking something in the same language and clipping it without any edits, and just it's a single clip, right? You're just taking it out and you're only focusing on one channel. That's probably a little easier, right? Than scraping through dozens and dozens of channels, right? Because people mention here, there's some clippers that go through dozens, maybe even hundreds of channels, right? Trying to find good clips. There's all sorts of different types of channels.
According to the original stream's guidelines, posting clip videos is permitted.
In his appeal video, he tried to argue the decision by saying that the original owners of the content, so Cover, allow posting clips on their behalf.
So Cover allows clips, but here's the clarification. Cover allowing clips, that's a Cover policy. See, yes, they have to abide by Cover's policy, of course, because they're clipping Cover stuff. But beyond that, they also have to comply with YouTube. So even if Cover is okay with that, that isn't conclusive that YouTube has to be okay with that. And that's the problem here, is that there's a misalignment, right? Cover says fine, but YouTube says, actually, no, we have a problem with that because we don't want that.
He then claims that he provides original value through translations and editing, and that his content was not auto-generated by AI. Team YouTube responded and specified that Garzan's clips were simply not his. The content of the clips were owned by Cover, so it doesn't really matter if Cover allows clippers to use their content. The fact is that with the new policy, providing translations or making a few cuts here and there just doesn't make your content original anymore.
And to be honest, that's the one that gives me the biggest problem, is that if you're saying translating it doesn't count, that is a big problem. That is a big problem, because translation is super important. And remember, this is a global audience, right?
There are a lot of various opinions on this issue. Clippers confirming the demonetizations, some people providing sympathy.
It's not just this one dude. There's other people that have been hit. I know a lot of people have been hit out there. It's a whole different thing. It's difficult.
Whilst others accusing them of content theft. I personally...
Yeah, it's not theft, right? It's not theft, right? It's really arrogant to enjoy the content of popular people for free and then say my revenue has been suspended. That's weird. It's so gross. If you want to make money, create your own content from scratch. Look, listen, some people, some VTubers blew up based on clips. So the VTuber themselves can sometimes get popular because of the clipper, right? So the clipper in that case is actually helping that person make more original content and bring people to their channel.
Lean towards clippers being a net positive. Many people are not able to watch 4 to 5 hour streams, choosing instead condensed 5 to 10 minute clips to keep up. Clippers also provide accurate translated subtitles for international fans trying to keep up and learn the language. And with the absence of clips, Hololive's discoverability might suffer.
And I comment here, it's not might, it wills. And specifically discoverability. I'm not saying Hololive will lose money. Hololive is going to continue to make money, right? But their discoverability on YouTube specifically, will suffer, right? It's just a matter of fact. You're going to have less videos out there that would trend, right? The discoverability will go down to what it would be if you allow clipping and if YouTube allowed clipping. That is true. Cover Corporation does have an incentive to contact YouTube and to say, hey, listen, let people do this, right? They have an incentive for that. So honestly, Cover should call them up and be like, hey, no, let them do this because this is good for our business, right? And this is good for you because we make more money. It helps all of us, right? Because YouTube makes more money when Cover makes more money because they take a cut of the YouTube revenue, right? So let them clip, right? Let them clip. Even when ads are run on the Clipper channels, that gets more money for YouTube. YouTube's making money through all of this, right? YouTube is making and printing money. So why, to me, this is actually bad for YouTube themselves, because if these clippers decide to just go away, well, then YouTube's no longer making any money on this.
So YouTube's decision to regulate reused content through their updated policy unintentionally threatens the entire vtubing business model. I have no idea what Cover does here, to be honest. Will they start hiring clippers the same way they do with game developers and Holo Indie? Or maybe they will abandon clippers and instead use AI to generate subtitles directly on the main channels, as they speculated in their latest shareholder meeting. What do you guys think? Make sure to like the video. And
now let's go back to that one, right? Okay. So they could create their own clip channels. I don't think this is smart because they're still going to not get as much reach as, even with AI and everything else, it's not going to get as much reach as they would allowing people to do it. I mean, yes, they could do their own clip channels, and they could also have officially sanctioned clippers. So they could have people that they bless and say, no, you're our clipper and we control your account and we pay you out like an employee, right? So they have an agreement. So Cover has an agreement with a clipper. Cover owns the channel, so that won't trigger YouTube's algorithm, right? And they pay them out like an employee. I mean, that's fine. They could do that. I just think they're not going to end up. I mean, look, to be honest, if they have officially sanctioned clip channels, maybe they'll have a handful, maybe for like each major language, they'll have an official one to translate or clip or whatever else. But, that's not going to be as broad as otherwise, right? I think that is an option, but it doesn't solve the problem. It wouldn't solve the problem, right? I do think it could be helpful, though, to bring them under their roof and support them, right? But I do think also Aether says having independent clippers is important because it shows that people love you even though the corporation is not paying them. right? Because it just shows the love, you know, and you need to show that you're loved, that people support you, right? That's really, really important.